Hello, everybody. This is Ricky Rourke with Horizontal Bees. I'm here with Jim Rash. Appreciate y'all being with us tonight. I'm sure there'll be plenty of other people to pop in as we go along. But I first want to introduce Jim Rash and talk to you a little bit about him and our history together and how I ended up meeting Jim. And then we'll go into his horizontal hives and talk about his setups, and then we might talk about some of his specialty stuff and maybe some of his educational background. So Jim, it's good to have you here, sir.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it. Yep. Just so y'all know, when I became a beekeeper, was about the time of COVID, and our bee association wasn't running at that time. It was actually running on Zoom. So, the following year, they opened the bee association back up. I went down. There was just a few members there, and I got to meet Jim Rash. And being a horizontal guy, when I first started beekeeping, there wasn't many people that had horizontal hives, and I was just blown away that here I've made some designs, and you got Jim Rash here, he had like 5 hives or 4 hives, horizontal hives. And man, I was absolutely blown away. Got to really know Jim. Got to talk to him a lot about his hives, and his education on the horizontal hives is like here. I feel like a lot of times I'm here, he's like here. He really knows his stuff. He's been running them longer than I have, so that helps out a lot. And, so I got to meet Jim, and the horizontal hives kind of brought us together. But he also gives classes, and me and my wife, we've taken all 3 of his classes. He's had a beginner beekeeping, he's had an intermediate, and an advanced beekeeping class. And with education, I think you become a better beekeeper. It's nice for him to pass his knowledge along. Jim, if you don't mind, let's you tell their audience tonight a little bit about yourself.
I grew up here in Ashe County, and for education, I went to Gardner-Webb University and then later to North Carolina State University. Graduated from North Carolina State with a PhD in sociology. And over the years, I've taught some fill-in classes for Appalachian State University and also for Wilkes Community College. But 35 of the last 40 years, I pastored a Baptist church in Todd, and I retired from the church in 2019. And that gave me more time to focus on the bees and also learning and education as well. And my introduction to bees came in 2014. I was planting buckwheat in June. It was still blooming in September. Nothing to pollinate it. You see a wasp or a yellow jacket occasionally, and they're not very good pollinators.
No, they're not.
But now with honeybees, I can plant an acre of buckwheat, and that's pollinated and all set seed within 3 weeks' time.
Right.
It's just amazing the difference the honeybees can make in pollination for our crops and our gardens.
Right. So, Jim, how many hives do you have?
Well, I dream of having 10. I have 42.
42. Wow.
42 is more than I can realistically take care of.
And out of 42, how many of those is horizontal hives?
I have 4 horizontal hives.
4 horizontal hives. Okay.
That I've had. First ones were 2018, and I did 2 more in 2019.
Okay. All right. And what kind of made you decide to do a horizontal hive? What hit you saying, hey, I want to try this out? I mean,
well, first I read an article on honeybee sweets by Rusty Berlew,
okay,
talking about the Valkyrie log hive that was developed by a beekeeper in Washington State.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this is really a neat design. Started doing some more research about that, but everybody I talked to here in Ashe County said it's not going to work.
Right.
Bees are going to die. One beekeeper said, I know nobody that's been able to get bees to live in a top bar hive in winters here in Ashe County.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like, a lot of naysayers that said it can't be done. But the more I read and studied,
mm-hmm,
there's no reason why it couldn't be done.
Right.
And that led me to Dr. Leo Sharashkin's
Yep.
website, Horizontal Hives, and read his work and emphasis there. And also, that's where I got my ideas for the first plan.
Ooh.
So I was reading 2017, and I built that first horizontal hive the spring of 2018 and put it into use. And that spring, I put that first hive out there, put a 5-frame nuke in it in April. And by the end of the summer, they had 18 deep frames drawn out, and they were just ready to go.
They were rolling at that point, weren't they? Yeah, sure. Absolutely. And how many years of beekeeping do you have?
I started beekeeping in 2014. Heard an advertisement on the radio for Wilkes Community College offering a beekeeping class. And Shelley Bell was teaching the beginning of beekeeping. So I would take it and see. And it was an interesting experience. That class seemed overwhelming because I had no background at all in bees.
Right.
But through Shelley's class and her encouragement and mentorship over the years, I mean, that's where I'm at today.
Right.
I was able to complete that intro class, and then also took her intermediate class, and with the educational opportunities through the North Carolina State Beekeepers Association, been able to move on through the levels, certified and journeyman, and now I've completed the master beekeeper.
Yeah. And your education through the master beekeeper, that's one place where I'd like to get to, just so that I'm giving the right information out to other beekeepers. And I appreciate Jim. He's so willing to give his knowledge and help out. And I know I'll call him and bug him, and there's got to be 1,000 other people that call and bug him. And even these folks that are on here, hey Joseph, they're also we all call somebody to talk to about bees, and it helps having someone with a little bit more experience, or a little bit more education to help you out when it's not swarming. It's just they're hatching out, and they're it looks like a swarm, but it's not. So it's good to have somebody out there that you can talk to. So hey DC, how you going on tonight, brother? We're going to get into some of Jim's photos here of his horizontal hive design, and I just want my viewers on here to remember. And I know DC said on here, he says I think he was working on a long hive. There's many different ways of doing it. Rick's way might not be the best for you. Jim's way might not be the best for you. But by seeing different methods will make you a better beekeeper and make you build the long hive that you want for your bees. So, Lee, can you pull up that first slide, please? So explain a little bit about your design there, Jim.
This is basically a pattern from Dr. Leo's website. I decided to go with slatted bottom rack and screen bottom boards because that's what I read on my standard Langstroth hives. Mm-hmm. And this particular hive, I can fit 32 deep Langstroth frames. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the main advantages of a horizontal hive. The frames are totally interchangeable with your standard Langstroth. And a couple of years ago, somebody called me and said, I want to buy a nuke for a top bar hive. I said, well, that doesn't exist because there's no standard.
Right.
And but that's one thing about the horizontal hives. Those frames are interchangeable.
Right.
Completely.
Yeah, and we're going to see in some of Jim's pictures coming up here about being able to, graft from these hives, or that you can just change out frames really, really easy. So you bring up the next slide.
And again, this is just my variation. I decided to go with a A-frame roof rather than a flat roof.
Okay.
And I thought, well, I'll give me some more dead air space that can help with insulation in the winter and the summer months.
Right.
And I'm not sure that was really that necessary. A flat roof works great, but I did make mine with that A-frame roof.
Yeah, and I've made several different designs. I don't really think the A-frame versus the slant really makes that big a difference for the roof. You just got to be able to. I like to put some extra insulation there, or if you want to do some top feeding, if you want to do that, you got to have enough space there to do that. So, all right, Lee. All right. Is this your first hive, Jim?
This is the first one.
Okay.
First one I built, and I decided that Dr. Leo's plans had the entrances on the side where you could have 3 colonies in one of these long hives. And when I thought about it, if I put the entrance on the end, that would more closely mimic what the bees are experiencing in a tree cavity.
Right.
And so I made mine with entrances on each end, so I can only have 2 colonies in one horizontal hive if I need to. But I really like the idea of having the entrance on the end to allow the bees to have the brood closer to the entrance and then honey on down.
Right.
And also that's benefit in the summertime as far as temperature regulation, but also in the wintertime to move it on up through the colony to the honey stores.
And in that picture there, he's got the entrance in the front, but he's also got an entrance in the back, and that seems to create some good airflow through that hive, and maybe cut down on your moisture level. I think the screen bottom board works good for moisture control also. I'm really seeing the one that I've got in play all year has done probably better than any of my other horizontal hives with that screen bottom board. But the verdict's still out for me on the screen bottom board up here in the mountains.
And another thought, I read an article with Dr. Larry Connor in bee culture, and he quoted a study from Canada where it said that the honeybees will not survive in a Kenya top bar hive in climbing Canada. The bees will not move laterally or horizontally. They're hardwired to move vertically. I wish you'd give me a reference on that, but there was not a reference in that article. He just mentioned it anecdotally, and but that's not been the case here in Ash County. No, bees have done well.
Right.
Out of the 4 hives, and out of the 4 years I've had, 5 years, I've only lost 1 colony.
Wow.
So that's pretty good odds.
That's very good odds. Absolutely, it is.
The colony I lost was in the early spring.
Right.
And they had all the symptoms of the traditional colony collapse disorder. They were there in the early part of the summer, and then next thing I knew, everything was gone.
Oh, wow. It's amazing. All right, Lee, man. Let's see what else we got here. So we see now. I've seen this before, and I like this picture right here. It shows the bees propolize the top of that inner cover. And why did they do that, Jim?
When I started beekeeping, ventilation was taught as the key to survival for honeybees in our climate. You have to have good ventilation because wet, cold bees, we know, are dead bees.
Right.
But I tried every way I could think of to outsmart the bees that summer and give a ventilation that they would not propolize. First thought maybe it's light, then the air, everything I tried, they would still propolize those entrances.
Right.
So really at the place, we need to ask ourselves, what are the bees trying to tell us?
Right.
What kind of environment do they actually need? I mean, bees like a stuffy house.
Yeah. They
thrive in an environment that has high humidity and also higher carbon dioxide level. I mean, they have, like, it's so stuffy. We couldn't live with the carbon dioxide that the bees are quite comfortable with.
Wow,
and that's the optimum environment for the bees.
Wow.
And that led me to do some more research and read some articles by Bill Heschbach. Article first in American Bee Journal, where he talked about the condensing hive, and then he wrote an article in Bee Culture about winter management. And he emphasized the importance of the moisture and the humidity and the carbon dioxide that actually is a benefit to the bees.
Wow.
So rather than trying to force my idea of ventilation on the bees, I decided to try to find a way to do what they wanted and what's best for them, not for me.
Right. And I've actually put in the side of the hives and with the turn draws, and they propolize those up a lot of times. Now, I haven't seen that as bad with the screen bottom board. I haven't seen any propolization there yet, but this is the first year I've run a hive with a screen bottom board, so I'm kind of curious to see how it'll turn out this year. You have one that way, is that correct?
I have screen bottoms on all of mine.
Oh, do you?
I leave the sticky board in the year round.
Okay, yep.
And in the winter months, I add a piece of woodboard insulation underneath to
kind of seal it up and make it tight.
Some more heat.
Okay, excellent. All right, Lee, man. That's really cool about the carbon dioxide. I didn't know that level like that. So explain to our viewers what you're doing right here.
This is my inner cover.
Yeah.
A layer of wool blanket and a layer of canvas. The cotton canvas goes down over these, and I've got the wool blanket on the top, and another layer of canvas on top of that. And that's the inner cover year round.
They should use that year round.
It stays on the year round.
Okay. Wow, I didn't know that. I thought maybe you just used one piece of that, and then over the winter you put some wool on it. So when I seen your pictures earlier today, that when I looked. So, all right, Lee, show what happens to that canvas. The next picture. Oh no, we don't have that one in there.
Okay. But what happens with the canvas? The bees completely propolize that canvas.
Right.
They seal up the top completely.
Mm-hmm.
There is, and really that's creating an environment more similar to what they have in the tree.
Right.
Because in that tree cavity, they have a propolis envelope that surrounds them all the way around. And so what happens with that warm air? Mm-hmm. In Langstroth hives in the wintertime, that warm air comes to the top and condenses on that cold top, and sometimes it will freeze. Other times it's just going to immediately drip back down on the bees. Mm-hmm. But in a colony that's well insulated, like in a tree cavity or a horizontal hive in this situation, that warm air can come to the top and adds another insulating layer as it hovers there. Mm-hmm. And as it cools, it begins to disperse and come to the sides. So the moisture is condensing toward the sides of the colony rather than dripping right down on the bees. So they need, like I mentioned, the high humidity and carbon dioxide level. And another benefit is that during the winter months, when that water condenses to the sides, mm-hmm. the water foragers don't have to leave the hive on a 45-degree day.
They just go right around and get a drink.
They can come and get the water that's inside the hive and recycle that. So it's really better off for the bees all the way around.
Right.
And also the Propolis Envelope, we know the benefit of propolis from research from Wallace Spivak and others about the antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiviral. I mean, it's part of the healthy, colony type immune system for the honeybees.
Right.
And so that canvas is no longer white; it's completely sealed and covered every inch of it with propolis.
Yeah, it looks. I've seen that canvas before, and it is. I mean, it is just. I won't say yellow. It looks dirty all the way across, and it takes a lot to pull that open sometimes. And if it's kind of a cool day anyway, to get it open. So, all right. So let's go talk a little bit about queen rearing in a horizontal hive. If you'll show the next picture, Lee.
This is one of my, queen rearing frames that I just pulled out of a horizontal hive, and it's really convenient because we use Bob Benny's method of queen rearing using a double screen board, and we use the same colony as a starter and a finisher. Right. And it's ideal set up to use it in a horizontal hive because I can put in the double screen board and later the queen excluder, and I'm not moving heavy boxes around. But I have, can have the grafting frame on the left side, and then I've got the queen, and most of the open brood on the other side, and it's a perfect setup for just rearing
queens. Yeah,
queens for the backyard beekeeper.
Yeah, and I've got a teaching hive that I did a lot of my queen rearing this year, and I really liked it because I was just able to pop that queen out and move her over, and stick my grafts right in, and I'm not good like Jim. I think the first time I got three queens, and the next time I got 0. So I'm still working on my queen rearing, but hopefully with Jim's experience in his class, because I did that before I took his class, I went ahead and did my own queen rearing. That I'll get a lot better with that. So, and this is one of those pictures there. Is that correct?
That's some queen cells that are completely drawn out. Really can't tell, but there's probably 80% of those that bees have accepted.
And so, Jim, I need you to come over, or I need to go over to your house. You've got to show me how to get that many queens in a good graft.
So. The key is to get the right age flower.
Yeah, I'm still working on it. And a lot of times I'm digging in there, and some of you guys have tried it, and I feel like I'm smashing the larva, and I'm not getting the tip in there good, and I'm trying to rush, and I'm sweating, and I'm like, I got to get this back to the hive, and I just get really nervous when I try to graft the queen. So hopefully I'll get better with that and some experience, time, right?
It's
Some
a
know-how.
process of learning.
Yeah. So trial and error, right, guys? Trial and error. So, all right, Leaf, you'll move to our next picture. So what's going on here? I didn't know if this was swarming or if this is bearding for your horizontal hive. What you got going on with this hive?
Typically, you don't see bearding.
No.
On the horizontal hive. That's another benefit, because in that standard limestone box, when the bees are bearding on the outside, that's a sign that they're in the stage. If they stayed in the box, they would experience hypothermia. It's just way too hot. But in the horizontal hives, you do not see bearding. And so this is a swarm.
Okay.
There's right above the entrance and some down on the leg. I just figured the queen started and wasn't quite ready to fly, and so they were just hanging out waiting on the queen, and they all went back in.
They all went back in,
that day.
Yeah, that's kind of what they call a pre-swarm, or like they're getting her ready to go. Is that right?
That's a trial.
Trial.
And the queen's just not ready yet.
Yeah, so you can still go out there and basically rake those bees off and put them in the nuke, right?
Sure could, absolutely. The same way you would in a standard limestone box.
Yeah. And is this your second hive that you build, or is
That's
this
the second one?
Okay.
The yellow one and the green one, the first ones we built. That's
and your wife did all this pretty painting? Is that correct?
Sue was helped me with the painting.
Yeah, she's here with us tonight. Sue, I appreciate Jim, and more than you'll ever know. He's been a lighthouse, really. He has with us, and I'm sure everybody at the Bee Association probably tells you the same thing. But his knowledge is incredible. So we appreciate you being here tonight with Jim. So, all right. So I don't know if do we have any pictures of the divider boards, Lee? I don't know if we got any of those in there. But
I didn't get any with divider boards.
Okay, all right. I had some pictures with some divider boards, and you use a full sheet for your queen excluder. Is that what you do?
I use a full sheet for the queen excluder, and also in raising queens, you start first with a double screen board.
Yeah, and you have
that's
that.
a queenless colony. And then after 3 days, I'll come back and switch that double screen board to a queen excluder.
Okay.
And at that time, the colony switches from the starter to the finisher.
Okay.
And it's really better for the colony to, as a finisher, to be a queen right colony, whereas you need a queenless colony to be the starter.
Huh. Interesting.
And so this is just basically, Bob Benny's approach to using the double screen board, except I'm just putting it in a horizontal line rather than a standard limestone.
Right. So, I hear all the time that horizontal hives are the worst to swarm. And there's a lot of truth. There is some truth to that. They do swarm quite a bit. And I think, and I don't know if you experience this, you really have to manage a horizontal hive a lot different. Slide a frame in, let them draw that frame out. If that ball in there, the honey starts filling in on that brood nest, she starts feeling squeezed, you're going to see that hive swarm out. So, rotate an empty frame in during your inspection, let them draw that out, give them something to do, and your hive will continue to grow larger and larger. You might not get as much honey on the outside, but at least they're not swarming out, especially early spring when the flow is so great. So if you'll bring that next slide up, Lee, man.
Actually, this is a colony that was in the process of swarming, and they had the head off me.
Yes, they did.
They certainly did, because there's about 8 or so queen cells that they've drawn out on the face of that comb.
All right.
But with the horizontal hive, unless you make sure that they have the space that they need, they will swarm, and they can swarm rather quickly.
Yes.
However, a horizontal hive can make a good resource colony.
Yes.
You need some brood, some bees to strengthen some other colonies, or if you're looking for production colonies in your limestone boxes for honey, why not use those horizontal hives, borrow some frames of bees and brood, and give a boost to other colonies.
And it's a whole lot easier than taking, a vertical hive all apart, to get down to your brood, and it's, horizontal is right there. Hey, do I need some honey? Boom, I got honey. Oh, do I need a frame of brood? Boom, there you can do that. So it definitely makes it really easy. And then if you get this right here, you can just I think Lee's got the same hive. I've got a queen horizontal hive, and it has 12 different compartments. So I could take those cells and make me some queens really quickly with that. So.
Absolutely. Move it to if you wanted a 5-frame nuke, start a 5-frame nuke with it. If you've got a queen castle, move it to the queen castle, and you've got some good quality queens.
Very good quality queens. Yep.
Because, some research now is saying that the queen will actually lay a larger egg in a queen cup.
Right.
As compared to what's in a worker cell.
Yep.
So from the get-go, you've got the chance of having a better quality
queen. Yep. And I think they weighed those, right? They weighed them, the larva or the egg. Is that how they come up with that? Or
actually, they observed the emerged queens.
These are okay.
As far as size, weight, and productivity.
Okay. Wow, that's really amazing. I know you always in class. You always said, "Hey, a swarm cell is the best queen you can get."
That's a good quality queen.
Yeah.
Typically, it's a good quality.
Yeah. So even though sometimes, and I'm gonna pick on Jim a little bit, I'll ask him a question. He goes, "Well, it depends." I don't know if y'all ever heard that. So we actually made him a shirt that says it depends on it, but it does. I mean, things are not always set in stone, and what might happen here might not happen where you're at.
All beekeeping is local.
That's right.
And different environmental conditions, different management techniques, different goals, different races and types of bees, different climate, environment, all of those things factor in.
Yeah. And I want to talk one more thing before we move past the swarming part. When I took the beginner beekeeper class with Jim, we went over to his house. A big group came over, and it had to be the best beekeeping day in my whole entire life. Now, Jim has a different opinion on this. It's probably the worst day of his life, because when we got there was a swarm in the bushes. He'd already boxed up one swarm, I think, and he had a swarm trap, and the bees were just all over it, trying to get into that swarm trap. And so we got to shake the swarm into the box, and that was fun for some people who hadn't seen that before. And then we went and got in his bees, and first thing he did is he had a early season, was it before Easter, which is usually really cold up here, queen, and he's like, "Well, I don't know if she's doing any good." And he pulled her out and was showing her, and the next thing you know, she flew off. And it was like, I was devastated. I mean, absolutely devastated. I'm like, what are we going to do, And so Jim's, I guess she wasn't no good. Maybe she'll come back, And so we go over to the next vertical hive that he had there, and it was full of queen cells. And I could see Jim's face like, these bees have just gotten ahead of me. And he'd put pollen patties on there, is that right? And he had them really souped up, ready for spring. And so then we went over to the next box, and they were queens emerging now, that hive. And I was tickled to death. And here we are, we're playing with these brand new queens, and you could see them opening up and coming out. And gosh, that hive I swear it had 30 queens coming out and emerging. So as we was there and we were playing with those queens, just in front of us was another swarm a big swarm that had come out of that box, really, and had landed into the bars, and you couldn't see them. And next thing you know, they come up over top of us. The sky's full of bees everywhere, and I'm eating this up. I'm excited, right? So I'm following these bees as they go across the field. They hit the tree line, because I said they're going to hit the tree line, they're going to stop, and then we'll get to watch this swarm build up. And they went up like a tornado, right up to the top of the trees, and went over the top and gone. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it didn't stop. So I went back and told Jim. I said, hey, those bees are gone. And but anyway, it was the most interesting day in a bee yard I have ever had in my whole entire life. So what do you think about that, Jim?
I think that was the season that the bees managed me instead of me managing the bees, because they definitely got ahead. Like I said, I've had sugar syrup and some pollen substitute earlier in the season to build up, to be able to make some spring splits.
Yeah.
But they were so far ahead, they were splitting before I was ready, so they made the splits.
Well, you said swarm cells were the best, so they were just helping you out that process.
They definitely were.
Yeah, guys, it was great. I have a little bit of that on video, but not totally. Hey, Kyle Farms, how you doing today? He's got a question here. Managing horizontals is a bit challenging. I feel like the bees tend to get more bound up by the hunting bees. So to prevent this, you have to be consistent in providing brood space and expanding. And that's his 2 cents. And I absolutely agree with that 100%. I absolutely, Kai. You're 100% right with that. Kai's a really good friend of mine. I think you're in, is it Jamaica? Am I right with that, Kaya? I think that's correct where he's from. I think he's got hundreds of hives, Jim, and he's got some really good videos. I really enjoy his videos. So
somebody asked you about that comb on top of your head.
Yeah, Jamaica. My what?
Somebody asked about the comb on top of your head.
Oh, this is my observation hive. Yeah, I think in my last video it was doing really good, and it actually swarmed out on me. So there is some bees up there in that I don't think they made a new queen. I haven't seen any brood, haven't seen any pollen coming into it. But this observation hive, I'm trying to make it all natural, so I'm not really worried about it too much. If it dies out during winter, no big deal. I'll reset it up and let it go again. But I want to keep it as natural as I can. I did no OA treatment with it. I did feed it a little bit to get it started, but just want it to be as natural as I can be. And hopefully next year, you guys will see this thing and it'll get huge. Hopefully all over the glass up there. And so it's a lot of fun to be able to sit in your recliner across from this and get to watch it. I can tell when the weather's changing, when the bees roll in. I've actually seen the bees stay out overnight, which is crazy. I didn't know they would do that, and I've seen that happen a couple of times now. And they'll come in the early morning, and it'll look like it's getting robbed out, and it's just the bees returning. They'll grab those bees by the leg and hold on to them and check them out like there's something wrong with them, and then let them go. So it's just really cool to be able to have an observation hive in your house that you can watch. So anyway, let's get back on Jim here and see if I can torment him some more tonight. So Lee, can you bring up his next picture here? So this is all your horizontal hives, is that correct?
That's my 4 horizontal hives, yes.
Okay. And are they all pretty much set up the same? The entrances in the front with an entrance in the back?
Yeah, just on each end. I have 2 entrances, one on each end.
Okay. And is this the bottom here? Is that a little nuke that you got sitting there? Is that a swarm, or what was you doing with that?
That's a nuke box just in case I need one for a swarm.
All right.
I have one handy.
It's always good to have a swarm box ready, and it seems like when it happens, not only do you need one, sometimes you need 2 or 3, because it seems like the whole bee yard goes crazy on you.
You have ready because you don't have much time sometimes.
No, you don't. So, all right, Lee, you bring the next picture up. And I really want to talk about winter and horizontal hives. I get asked this question a lot, especially this time of year. But Jim, if you'll talk a little bit about your horizontal hives there in the winter.
Well, actually, I feel like the bees over winter are much better in our climate in a horizontal hive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to worry about insulation. I made the walls 2 1/4 inches thick.
Okay, well, that's even thicker.
So that's that extra insulation there with the wool blanket and the Propolis envelope on top and blue board on the bottom. I feel like they have the closest I can get to mimicking what they've experienced in a tree cavity.
Right. And I think that's really the keys with a horizontal. It's that tree cavity, it's that extra insulation on the outside, not allowing that cold air to kind of get in and dictate what's going on with the bees.
Yeah, and I understand with Langstroth setup, they lose about 75% of the heat out of the top.
Right.
Compared to what goes through the walls or the bottom.
Yeah.
And so you don't have those issues in a horizontal hive because you can add the insulation and it helps conserve what the bees actually generate. Right.
And I see, how high do you set your lays? Mine's 20 inches. I set mine 20 inches so that the skunks can't get up that high. Mouse can't jump at 18 inches. How high do you set your entrance up on your legs there?
They're probably 18 to 20 inches, just a comfortable height for me to work.
Work, yeah, and it is that for me. I'm a shorter fella. I'm only 5'7", so about 20 inches is really a good height for me. I enjoy that height, and it works great for the bees. And something else that's kind of cool being that high off the ground is you actually get. I see the snow there's not even around your entrances at all, right?
No problem there.
No problem there whatsoever. They're up, high enough you don't have to deal with that. And then the snowpack on top actually gives a little bit of insulation also, right?
And without a landing board at the entrance, you don't have to worry about brushing the snow off to give the bees ability to come and go when it does warm up.
Well, I never thought about that. I always put bee porches on mine. I enjoy watching the bees kind of land in. Yeah, that's a very good way of doing it. And your opening, how big do you make your opening on that?
It's about almost ½ inch tall.
Okay. Yeah.
And probably about 6 inches
wide.
long.
Yeah. And that's what we've done. We started at 3/4 with our horizontal hives, and noticed that my first hive, they absolutely propolized. I wish I'd gotten a picture of it. They had propolized it down. I bet you wouldn't do it. And even propolized the frames in the front to seal that or change that airflow the way they wanted it, right? And when I took that was my first horizontal hive that I built. I took it out of commission this year to redo the top on it. And bees actually come in and dug all that propolis out. So I didn't even get a chance to get a picture of it, all that propolis there. But they had really reduced that down to about 2 inches by ½ inch, I think. So our hives we've changed down to ½ inch, 10 inch, and then we sell a reducer that's 4 inches or 1 inch that they can reduce that hive down. So
because in the wild, the bees are not looking for a large cavity.
That's right.
I mean, a large opening going into that cavity.
No.
Sometimes even as small as an inch.
That's right.
They're happy with.
Yeah. And I see that a lot with the cutouts we do is, when we go look at them and there's this massive colony going in, and when you go up, there's a 2 inch or a 1 inch crack, and it's nothing. It's like, gosh, how do they keep that hive cool? How they, I'm just thinking that can't be possible. But I think we did 7 cutouts this year. We did 6 last year. So, I don't think I've seen any of them. Maybe the drum, the whiskey drum that we did together. Yeah.
They had, when I went down there early in April, that opening was almost propolized closed.
Okay.
But when we went back to actually do the cutout, they opened that up some so they would have more space to come and go during the foraging season. Yeah.
And, that was a really cool cutout that we did. It was in an old whiskey drum, and they'd already cut a couple of the bands off of it right when we got there. And when he cut that last band off, it sat there for a second. The next thing the whole top is sinking down into the drum. It's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We're trying to prop it up, and the bees are angry, and we did have a couple pieces of cone to fall down. But those were some massive slabs. I bet they were, what did you say, about maybe 2 feet wide in the center?
Yeah, they were all.
And probably 2 or 3 feet deep also.
Some of them were close to 3 feet.
Yeah, and it was just amazing. And those bees had been there, how long did they say?
The family had said they'd been there for years.
Years, yeah.
Multiple years. And of course, you usually think a feral colony is going to die out in just a few years and it's repopulated. But I noticed these bees have some hygienic behavior.
Right.
As I watched worker bees bringing out drone brood.
Right.
And when I enlarged the photograph that I took, I could see the immature varroa mites on that.
That's taking out the drone.
Pupa.
Yeah.
So they're bringing out those drones that were parasitized with the mites.
Yeah, I never had touched base with you. And how did that hive do after we did that cutout?
They're doing great.
Doing great.
They got able to move into the Langstroth rocks and did great this summer.
That's great. And, these wild genetics a lot of times could be the breakthrough we're looking for to get rid of varroa. If it just happens in nature. That would be absolutely awesome. So, Jim, I want to take a few minutes and talk to you a little bit about some experiments that you've done. And then if you guys got some questions that you want to ask Jim, for you guys that haven't been on here and just got on here, Jim is a master beekeeper. He teaches at Wilkes Community College, 3 beekeeping classes. He's had 9 years of experience. I would consider him my mentor. A great friend, a great Christian guy. He's a blessing to have around, and it's good to have somebody like Jim to bounce ideas off of you. And you send a message to Cayman and he won't answer. I'm just picking on you, Cayman. Cayman's always busy, but it's always good to have someone like Jim here. But Jim, can you talk about some of your experiments? I know you've worked with the North Carolina state, right, on some stuff.
Initially, I proposed to do a research project with Dr. Dave Tarpey about looking at bromide treatments using the oxalic acid and glycerin, following Randy Oliver's work in California. Because I think this could really be a game changer for us as far as treatments, because Randy Oliver's work said with time, using oxalic acid dissolved in glycerin on some type of matrix, whether it's a sponge or a shop towel, can actually zero out bromide loads, that he said, with time. And so I proposed to do that as a research project here in North Carolina, but the EPA has basically said, that's never going to happen until there is a new product registration and a new label. So I felt like maybe you shouldn't go ahead with that one. And I thought about another project with Dr. Zach Lamas about looking at drones in the early season in order to get a bromide count. Right. Because if the mites are primarily on the drones in the early season, and we're sampling worker bees, we're probably getting an underestimate of what the actual bromide load is in the colony. So that's an ongoing project, and Dr. Lamas is doing more work on that. And that could be another thing that could be a game changer as far as how we actually sample for varroa. Right. If we need to be looking more at drones in the early season, right, than the worker bees.
Right. That's interesting.
And after thinking about what we're doing tonight, I think a good project would be looking at a comparison of different hive styles as far as the health and productivity of the bees. Right. As far as looking at insulated hive, like the NL poly hives, compared to a standard Langstroth box. I mean, that Langstroth box at 3/4 inch pipe bore has an R value of 0.81. Right. Whereas the nail hive has R value of 7, and that's throughout the year. Right. And from my experience, I've seen the nail hives actually produce more honey than my Langstroth boxes. Right. But that's just my experience. Right. And maybe there's some research there that I could actually do that could look at that and quantify some of these things to compare different style hives as far as productivity and overall health and of the bees. Right. And I think a lot of the backyard beekeepers, I mean, you're typically a backyard beekeeper. I know you're working with Dr. Tarpey here in North Carolina, but I mean, as a backyard beekeeper, we can do these experiments, and maybe correlate with other people to do these experiments and start seeing these things. Really find out what works best for you in your local environment, right? With your management style. Correct, 100%. So, and that does play a big part in the management. I would say I'm a little bit more of a lazy beekeeper, so my management wouldn't be quite as good as probably somebody else. Maybe like Leon here. But each person can see in their area how those hives do in that area. So, hey, Bruce, man, it's good seeing you on here tonight. So, anybody got any questions for Mr. Jim Rash before I ask him another question? Let's see. Bruce said, "Are we talking about bees or mites?" Well, we're talking a little bit about both on there, right? Well, I hate to admit it, it's hard to talk about honeybees without talking about varroa mites, because that's the #1 issue that our bees face right now. Right. And as far as, treating, we have a lot of tools in our IPM toolbox. So we need to be aware of those, be able to use those when needed.
Right.
But after thinking about what we see in the horizontal hives, as far as higher moisture, higher CO2 levels, some of what we may be seeing with the varroa mites in our standard boxes, we may be creating an environment that's harder on our bees, but perfect place for the varroa mites to reproduce.
Wow, that's amazing to think about.
Because if the varroa mites don't do well in high humidity, and they can't live in a higher carbon dioxide environment.
And here we're ventilating all that out.
We're ventilating all of that out. And so
maybe we're hurting them in the long run, didn't even know it.
Maybe hurting our bees in the long run and creating a perfect environment for the mites.
So this is why you have a guy like this that's that reads a lot and studies a lot and can kind of help you out a little bit. So so let's talk a little bit about building new equipment. I want to ask you this, if you're having, so we had Kent, I'll have Kent on here talking about building standard vertical boxes and stuff, but I want to ask Jim's opinion about it. You would say there's some things that would be beneficial for us to build, correct? Like, like a reducer, if you've got any skills, build your reducer. I mean, it's simple, save you a few bucks. If you're building a horizontal hive, build it yourself. I mean, that's a good, easy project, winter project. But when it comes to the vertical hives right now, do you think it's still beneficial to build your own? I mean,
there's a certain amount of satisfaction that goes into it.
100%. Yeah.
I think one benefit of being able to build your own vertical or horizontal hives, you can use a rust soft lumber.
Yeah, that's
on
right.
the inside that encourages the bees to coat that with
Propolis. Yeah.
When you're looking at cost efficiency with the horizontal, with a vertical box, less lumber I bought was like $2.40 a linear foot for rough saw on one side, and so when you figure that what goes into a deep super, it's cheaper to buy it off at the bee supply store.
Right, yeah. But there's still other things, and I know you've really got some really. He's got a lot of cool gadgets. I'd really like to show you some of the cool gadgets he's made and invented and modified, and that's a lot of fun about beekeeping. And you can modify something to fit you, and you've done that to a lot of stuff, and he shared that in class, and we've enjoyed it.
And if you have some basic equipment, and you can make some modifications. And for instance, on 5-frame mute box, rather than having the top feeder, I make my 5-frame mute boxes large enough to incorporate a division board feeder where I can put a gallon syrup in a division board feeder. I mean, it's a different size, but it works great for me because I don't have to have that extra feeder on top. It's much easier to do the inspection, and it's much easier to actually feed the bees.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Yep. And again, that's one of the good things about building your own equipment. Some of your own equipment you can really play with a little bit and do certain projects like that. And I want to talk to you a little bit about teaching class. Do you enjoy teaching class? I think you do. You do a really good job with doing that.
Well, I enjoy talking about bees, obviously.
That's why he's on here tonight.
And being able to teach, I mean, I think that's important to share
the
knowledge that a person has learned and be able to help other people learn. And my goal is to be the best beekeeper that I can possibly be.
Right.
And that means that I need to keep on learning and stay abreast with the research that's taking place. Because, beekeeping is not like it was before 1987.
It's changed a lot.
It's changed a lot since the varroa mites were introduced.
And I think the good thing about teaching, this is why I want to do it, is it really makes you dive in and learn. You really want to learn something before you tell somebody else. So it makes you have to do a lot of research, a lot of work to do that. And then the satisfaction of helping somebody else out. And I love helping people out if I can. We mentor, I think we mentored, about 15 people this year, babe? We were running everywhere. We've run everywhere all year, not including building some horizontal hives and taking classes with Jim and bee association. So, I enjoy it greatly, but being able to help people out, the satisfaction to see them, get their own honey and watching the hive grow, or what's going on with it, or I love that. I really enjoy that, and I appreciate you teaching the class when you did, and I had fun, and I think everybody in the class had fun. And how many classes have you had now? I mean, how many different people?
Just in the past, last year and this year, I've had 30 people in the intro class.
Right.
So that's a lot of new beekeepers.
That's a lot of new beekeepers. I think COVID's kind of helped that a little bit. People had to get outside and find a little hobby to do, and beekeeping was definitely a good hobby to do. So, anybody got any more questions for Jim? Oh, is the shop towel method approved yet?
No, that's only available in South America. There's Allen Camp, I think is the brand name in South America. It's approved there. In the United States, no. The EPA says without a new product and a new label, you cannot use the glycerin and oxalic acid as a miticide.
Right. And in this area this year, and I don't know if you've seen this, but I think I did see this. The mites were really low. Did y'all see that where you guys were at? I didn't see the mite loads that I had seen in previous years. I don't know if that was I don't think it was really cold this year. Winter, it was kind of a mild winter, right? Which you would think seeing more mites. Jim, did you see more mites or less mites? Or
actually, I've seen what I normally would expect.
Normally would say, okay.
Because I try to treat with oxalic acid sublimation 2 times in rootless time of year, like November, December. And if you can treat with oxalic acid with a 99% knockdown,
right,
it takes 9 to 10 months for those mites to actually build back up.
Okay.
So that's a good time. Rootless, 99% knockdown. You've got very few mites starting the spring season.
Yeah, and we're a little different than most guys because I think we're like right around 3,000 feet in elevation. So we usually start that about March when you do your OA. Is that about right? Or do you do sooner than that?
I do the first OA the week of Thanksgiving, the second one the week of Christmas.
Right.
And then I typically don't have to do anything again until August.
August, okay. Wow, okay. So I'm a little different. I've already done my treatments about 2 weeks ago, and I'll do one at Thanksgiving, and then when March rolls around, I'll do another treatment at that point in time. So, anyway, let's see. Oh yeah, all right. I'll get that chair. Absolutely, I've got a little project that I'm doing for someone for a queen rearing. So Spanky, I got to get down there and get that. So we've been kind of behind here lately. So. Any more questions? And I'm going to let Jim go. Lee, how's things going down where you're at before we take off?
We've actually been getting a little bit of cold weather down here past couple of days. We was at 37 yesterday morning and 35 this morning.
Wow, that's
coming from 95. I've been wearing layers here.
Yeah.
But doing pretty good. Bees are flying. They steady in and out. We still got goldenrod blooming down here, so they're bringing in plenty of nectar.
Right.
And hope they building up good for the wintertime.
Right. I think it was 17 here at the house. What was it at your house?
It was 18 degrees.
18 degrees at Jim's house. Yeah, it was very cold here, 100%. Hey, Joseph Rollins, I'm going to make you a telephone call. I'm going to get you on one of my lives and talk to you about your horizontal hives. I have your phone number. I just hadn't had a chance to give you a call yet, but I definitely want to get you on here and pick your brain about your hives also, because I know you've got a lot of horizontal hives. And not only the horizontal hives, guys, we're going to do some stuff like the Anel hives, the Alpamay hives, top bar hives. We're going to have several people on here talking about the different hives, and the different way of managing those hives can be a little bit different. So that's kind of what I want to do here is teach people, you don't have to do a vertical hive. Maybe that's not right for you. Maybe something else is better for you and your bees. And that's something we want to do. So, Lee, how do you do your treatments down there for winter for your bees?
Usually after the honey flow, when our first dearth comes after a honey, say beginning of July area, I pull all
Okay.
my honey and then I'll do a OA treatment.
Mhm.
And then I'm usually good then until probably mid-November. I'll start another round of treatment. And I
Okay.
do it about every 5 days here for
Okay.
4 to 5 times average if the count's high. If not, I'll hit them one time and they good till spring.
Okay. And down there where you're at, because it really doesn't get that cold, correct? So, I mean, do they still have brood all through winter down
We
there? Or?
pretty much got brood year round. Now they will brood down a little bit. You'll have a smaller size area.
Okay.
We never go completely broodless here.
Yeah, but you pretty much use OA for the most part. Is that right, Lee? Do
Yeah,
you
that's the
anything else?
only thing I've used so far.
Okay.
And then, I mean, as far as like our coldness here, usually the last week of January, first week of February is our coldest time. And
Mhm.
we may get into the 20s every now and then, but generally a day or two of that, and then it's back in the 50s for a few days.
Yeah. And if you guys don't know, Lee's got killer bees down there because I had my wife down there and she went into anaphylactic shock. Yeah, those bees down there where he's at, man, they're dangerous. So
Suit up when you come down.
suit up, man. So
Hey, if not, I do know where the nearest emergency room is.
hey, and he was dead on it just like that, folks. Let me tell you, we was there really, really quick. I do appreciate you, Lee, and your friendship. And Jim's actually going to be at the Bee Expo in Kentucky, and
Okay.
Lee will also be there with me, helping me lifting big, heavy horizontal hives out of the building. Yeah, look at them muscles right there, just monster
Oh,
muscles.
no. Ain't got
So
none of them, but
anybody that's going to the Bee Expo and they're on here, or anybody, if you get a chance, come by and say hello. I love to talk to people, and hopefully I've got enough people to run my area that I can be a little bit more like the dirt rooster and sit there and talk to everybody. That's what I want
yeah.
to do.
We'll make sure you got time to talk and kind of mingle around there.
Yeah. I mean, I got to shop a little bit last year, and I said on John Hillco's thing that he basically got all my profits. John Hillco did, because I bought a ton of stuff from him, but I bought a bunch of stuff from everybody. So hey, Bruce, we'll be looking for you, brother. Yeah, come on by, talk to me, and say hello, and like I said, I love talking to people, and we'll let you talk to Lee a little bit if y'all need to do that. And,
A little bit. You know me, I don't talk a whole lot. In person, I talk a little more than I do on camera, though.
Yeah, he sure does. And Lee's a great guy, and Lee, I appreciate your help tonight in the background. You're awesome, and Jim, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge. And if you got a question that I can't answer, guess who I'm going to ask? Is this guy right here. So anyway, we're going to kick out of here, and we'll see y'all later. Have a good night.
Yeah, have a good one.